So I want to continue with this composition business for a little while, and you will understand very soon why I'm doing this. Okay? So I want to take x to be equal to and y is the same as x. Okay? And I want to take a function f from x to y. The particular function I want to take is, the particular set of functions I want to take are, this is k times, so let sigma be in the symmetric group and there's a symbol that is used for this, namely, so let sigma be a permutation of 1 to k. Then I want to define sigma from x to y. Remember, this is vk, this is k copies of v, by sigma of v1 So sigma is a map from x to y, which is sigma of v1 to vk is v of sigma 1, v2 of sigma k. What is happening is that I'm permuting the order by sigma. Okay? So then obviously I could take a function, take t in Lk of this y. Remember, y itself is vk. And I want to define sigma star t. Where will sigma star t be? It should be in Lk of this x. Which is also Lk v. How will I define sigma star of t? I will define it by sigma star of t evaluated at v1 vk is equal to t of sigma v1 vk, which is equal to t of v sigma 1. This sigma star is exactly that f star that I'm talking about. This t is exactly this t that I'm talking about here. Okay? So I hope you understand that what I'm doing here is exactly what I have done there. And therefore, by what I've written down in the earlier line, it should be clear to you that if you take another eta, if you take two permutations on k letters, which are two elements in Sk, then sigma composed with eta star at t is equal to exactly the same thing, g composed with f. F is sigma, g is eta. And what do you get? You get g star composed with f star. So that is eta star composed with sigma star of t. So we have sigma composed with eta upper star of t is equal to eta star, eta upper star composed with sigma upper star of t. Okay? It's exactly the same thing that I was doing here. Now it's a good exercise to convince yourself with this definition. Sigma star t is v sigma 1. What am I doing? I'm saying that this is following from here. It should be obvious to you. But even then, it is a good idea to sort of write down, show that sigma star of t is defined in that way. Then sigma composed with eta. What are sigma and eta? There are two elements in Sk. permutations on k letters. Composed at t is equal to eta star composed with sigma star at t. There is another notation that is used here. The notation is that, so sigma star. What am I defining? I'm defining sigma star. Sigma star of t, the notation is that it is t upper sigma. Okay? Sigma acting on t. That means you're permitting the domain of t. And what does this last line tell you? The last line tells you that p of sigma composed with eta is equal to, what is this? This is T sigma composed with that notation. It tells you that this is equal to T eta sigma. Okay? Eta composed, T sigma composed with eta is T eta and then sigma. Okay? This is going to take you a bit of time to digest. That T of sigma composed with eta is T eta its sigma. So in this also the composition of the functions is reversed. Okay? So we are going to be needing this idea very soon. So we'll stop here. So this is where the fun starts. We have this idea of T upper sigma. Sigma is a permutation on k elements. T is in Lk of Rn. T upper sigma of V1 to Vk is V of sigma 1 up to V of sigma k. And what we had seen last time was that, what you've seen just now is that if eta is another element in Sk, then T of is equal to, if you take sigma composed with eta, T of sigma composed with eta is T eta and sigma. The order is reversed. So this reversing order is something that is very important out here. Okay? And you're going to see this over and over again in different contexts, especially when you're talking about representation theory class, you will come across something like this, and also in the commutative algebra, when you do some commutative algebra. So this is the property that we want for this upper sigma. Okay, T upper sigma. Remember, I had not said this before, I've said F upper star. And why I'm making a fuss with F upper star? The obvious reason is because later on we're going to be talking about something which I'll call F lower star. So there's an upper eta, upper sigma there. Okay, so as I said, now this is the place where the fun starts. So far we were talking about LKV, all of LKV, okay, K multilinear maps on V. It turns out that we are not really that interested in all the elements of LKV. There are some special elements in LKV that we should be talking about. So what is the natural special elements that you should think about? So if you start thinking about that, the first thing you should think about are K multilinear maps that are symmetric. Okay? So I want to talk about the symmetric maps, K multilinear maps on V. So what is this? G. What is the meaning of symmetric? So what the meaning of symmetric is that if you change the order of the V1 to Vk in any manner, the value of T remains the same. So what it says is that T of order does not matter. The order of where you put the V1 to Vk, that really does not matter. Such a thing is called symmetric. Why do you call it symmetric? Because a fancy way of saying it is that it is invariant under the action of the symmetric group. This is not quite an action, but anyway, let's not worry about that too much. So T is symmetric if no matter how you commute V1 to Vk, you get the same value of T. So the first exercise is to find such things. So exercise, if K is equal to 2, okay, then P1 tensor P1 is symmetric. Phi1 tensor Phi1 is symmetric. Phi1 tensor Phi2 is not symmetric, but Phi1 tensor Phi2 plus Phi2 tensor Phi1 is symmetric. Okay? These are, and similarly, you should get something, for example, in S3. What will you write down in S3? Okay. So think about this, and you have to do some exercises to find out which is symmetric and which is not. So this is what I mean by SymK. It is obviously a vector space. It is a subspace of LK. It is an interesting exercise to try to worry about its dimension. It's obviously less than n to the power k. But what is it? Is a good exercise to think about. The sum of two symmetric multilinear maps is a symmetric multilinear map. Okay? What about tensor product? If you have two symmetric linear maps, so is the product of two symmetric K and D linear maps a symmetric K plus D multilinear map? So let me just leave it like that. What I mean by this is that if S is symmetric and T is symmetric, is S tensor T symmetric? It's worth worrying about that for a little while. So the question is that how do you actually calculate, if you're given a multilinear map, is there a natural way of associating a K multilinear map to it? Okay? And this is again an idea that is actually very important. It's a very natural idea that comes up at this stage. What do we want given any T in LKV? Okay? What we want to do is sort of construct a symmetric K-linear map. Symmetric K-linear map means that for any K, and this statement is that i.e. T sigma is equal to T for all sigma K. That is the meaning of symmetric. T sigma is equal to T for all sigma in Sk. So if you're given any T, which need not be symmetric, what is a natural way of constructing a symmetric K multilinear map? So this is the idea that we have. Symmetric means that it must be invariant under every element in Sk. Okay? And therefore, how would you try to define it? Now this is a very natural construction here, which you will be coming across in many more times in the future. If you want T sigma to be equal to T for all sigma, then the easiest thing to do is to take the average of all the T sigmas. And this is another very sort of fundamental idea that is there, that even if something does not behave very well, what is the meaning of behaving well in this context? The behaving well means invariant under the action of sigma. We want something that is invariant under the action of Sk. Okay? Now, the thing that you have may not be invariant under the action of Sk. But if you take all these T sigmas and take their average, the average of the T sigmas should behave well. What do we mean by that? And this is a general, very fundamental principle. It's sort of much more than in mathematics, in all forms of social discourse, that even if individuals may not be good, good means what in this context? Good means it is symmetric. Even though individuals may not be good, the averages of the individuals usually are good. So this is a very fundamental idea that averages behave much better than individuals. So we'll continue.